How's it going, guys? Burrito here, and I kind of want to bring you like a little discussion video where I talk about protection effects in Digimon. And right now, you can see on the screen I have some examples of protection cards that I want to go over. Like early forms of protection, we saw I think as early as EX1, we saw something like Machine Dramon where here all turns in this Digimon would be deleted. You you may trash two level 5 Digimon cards in this Digimon's Digivolution cards to prevent this Digimon from being deleted. So early early protection effects had like a stipulation of that, like you had to pay a cost. Uh, these kind of protection effects I think are okay for the game because you have to meet the requirements of having those to having the cost for it. Like for example, we also have the Greymon X from back in BT9. You trash two of the same level in order to prevent it from being deleted or bounced. Uh, then you would have effects like same as Machine Dramon and the Metal Guru where they Metal Greymon where they Metal Grey X where this one this Digimon's DP can't be reduced, and this Metal Grey X antibody where uh, if you meet the requirements it cannot have its DP reduced or de-digivolve until the end of your opponent's turn. So these kind of protection effects are okay. In my opinion, it's like the Omni protection effects that I have an issue with, where like for example the Magnamon X, the when digivolving, if you meet the requirements of having if Magnamon X antibody or an armor form trait are in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, which is pretty much just by doing a regular Magnamon X stack, you have already an armor form and trait. Until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon gets plus 3k and isn't affected by your opponent's effects, then unsuspended. So my issue where I think it's unhealthy for the game comes in the whole isn't affected by your opponent's effects. Uh, I'm under the belief that for like any form of like fun or even playing competitively, you want to have some interaction with your opponent's board. If your opponent has unaffected by your opponent's effects, you can't interact with your opponent's body. So there's no real back and forth there. It's just, oh, you have to do your own thing now because you can't really control that. You could probably set up a defense for that, but its all turns effect kind of makes it so that it's very easily activated, the Wind Digivolving effect. The all turns in this card would remove from the security stack. You may activate one of this Digimon's Wind Digivolving effects. So just remove a security. It doesn't have to be the Magnemon X player's security at all. It could also be his opponent's security. And this card like activates its Wind Digivolving to become unaffected. So cards like this that have that Omni protection, the protection from everything, or protection from your opponent's effects, I think that's what's unhealthy for the game. To kind of give a few more examples of that kind of protection, but that I think is okay, is like, for example, Belfmon Sleep Mode that we got back in BT13. So for those of you that aren't really familiar with it, it's on play with Digivolving by placing one Belfmon Rage Mode from the trash as this Digimon's top Digivolution card. Until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon can't attack and isn't affected by your opponent's effects. And then it has the opponent's turn once per turn when an opponent's Digimon attacks by trashing two cards in your hand and the attack. So the reason I'm okay, the reason why I'm okay with this Belfamon protection effect and not the Magnamon X is because this actually has like a somewhat relatively hard cost to pay for it. One, you have to set up a Rage mode in the trash, and then you have to either play this or Digivolve this. And with the style of deck this deck plays as, it can get kind of easy to do it. At the same time, it's kind of hard because once you do it once, you can't like once you digivolve, you can't really attack with this guy. He's more a defensive tool. He can trash two to end of an attack, and if you have the shoulder, you can use him to block. But as an 11k, most other level sixes can just beat over him. So you have to try to play it wisely. And I guess what makes this card good is that when it goes back to your turn, by the time it's back to your turn, because of this inheritable end of turn, this Digimon's if this Digimon's sleep mode, trash top card of this Digimon, it becomes the aggressive version, the rage version, and then this one can do multiple checks. It does security attack. It has end of attack by deleting one of other Digimon to suspend this Digimon. But with this, it's like a two-turn combo as opposed to like this Magnamon X, where as soon as you get into him, like that's it. He's just a giant uninteractable blocker slash beat stick. And this guy, even though he doesn't look like he has any aggressive utility, you can run cards to help him get security attack plus, like Mega Zubagon Punch or that 1/4 cost Tamer that can give him Alliance. And yeah, so this also, you can kind of see this coming, and once it's back on the turn player, the one that has the rage mode, it's now interactable. So if he hits into like a security option, like that absolutely obliterates him. Or uh, if you have an effect that like takes advantage of him deleting all your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon, like that also can stop him. So this is somewhat of a balanced an interactable combo, because it is somewhat interactable, as opposed to this one where it even has armor purge, another form of protection. So I'm not saying ban Magnamon X. Like it's like, for me it's here to stay, but I'm just saying that as future cards get revealed, I don't think the Omni protection is is like something that's healthy for the game. Kind of another example, what I do think is healthy for the game is something like Tyrant Kabuteri. His alterns, while this Digimon is suspended, it isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon. I do think a lot of people have an issue with this kind of protection, because it's currently the best kind of the best kind of like control comes from like your Digimon card effects, period. Because a lot of option cards, they tend to like not be so good. They tend to be very, very expensive at like 7, 8, 9 cost options to only pop 1 to maybe 2 Digimon, as opposed to like a Digimon that has a control effect where you have a giant body and then you could pop another body, so you're always like +1 in that interaction, as opposed to like just an option where you don't get as much value from a Digimon. I think this kind of effect is worth it, because there is some avenue of countering it or playing into it or playing around it. Because this one, it isn't affected by your opponent's Digimon. Well, you could still pop it with like tamers or or options. And an example of a tamer is the Karada tamer for the Belphemon. Let me pull it up real quick on here on DigimonCard.dev. Kura Kurat, right here. So at end of opponent's turn, draw 1 and trash 1 card. Then place this Tamer as the bottom Digivolution card of one of your Digimon with Belphemon in its name. Delete one of your opponent's level 6 Digimon. So yeah, that's one example of a Tamer that can pop a level 6. You just need the stipulation of having a Belphemon on the board. So, but regardless, I think the fact that this card has a way to out it, even though it has that strong protection of unaffected by your opponent's Digimon effects, I still think it's actually a really, really good form of protection. That's the most I feel is I'm comfortable with, in the sense of it being fair. Yeah. The Omni protection, the protection from like all your opponent's effects, I think that's what's unhealthy for the game. And going forward, I hope Bandai kind of stays away from these like Omni protection effects, protection from your opponent's effects, and I hope they kind of go towards more, like I was mentioning before, that they're unaffected by like bounce or deletion or opponent's Digimon effects. I hope they stick to something like that to give us room to put in, like, to find another way to control that either play around or control that kind of like protection effect. Because at the end of the day, I feel like when it comes to effects like this, like, okay, unaffected by your opponent's Digimon effects, I think that, like, if that's more in the meta, like, let's say, I don't know, it's as gonna be big as like Anubismon in EX5. Then that makes it so that when you're building your deck, you got to tech in for decks like this, and run more removal options. And I think that helps out with like the competitive aspect of the game, where now you have to consider running cards it's good for certain matchups and maybe not so good for others, and that's kind of a decision you have to make. And I think that would be healthy for the game, because then it helps promote kind of a wider variety of deck building choices, instead of just, oh, options are bad, let's just run nothing but Digimon. So with that being said, guys, I hope Bandai doesn't print out another card like Magnamon X, and also let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know if you guys agree, disagree. Let me know if I'm bad at the game. But yeah, take it easy, guys.